There comes a moment in every life when you realize that the greatest thing standing between you and the life you want is not your circumstances, not your competition, not your past, and not even your lack of resources. It is the voice inside your own mind that keeps asking, "What if I fail?" That voice has stopped more dreams than poverty ever could. It has kept brilliant people silent, talented people hidden, ambitious people comfortable, and capable people waiting for permission that was never coming. You were not born afraid of failure. You learned it. You learned to look around and measure yourself against other people. You learned to hesitate when someone criticized you. You learned to seek approval before trusting your own judgment. You learned to mistake uncertainty for danger. And now you have reached the point where something inside you is demanding a different life. Not an easier life. A stronger life. A life in which your confidence does not depend on applause. A life in which rejection does not destroy you, criticism does not control you, and temporary failure does not convince you that you are permanently incapable. This is what it means to become dangerously confident. Dangerously confident does not mean arrogant. It does not mean believing you are better than everyone else. It means becoming so deeply rooted in your purpose that other people's opinions lose the power to dictate your direction. It means walking into rooms without shrinking. It means speaking when your voice shakes. It means beginning before you feel ready. It means looking at an obstacle and refusing to automatically interpret it as a verdict. Napoleon Hill spent years studying people who accomplished extraordinary things, and one principle appeared again and again: achievement begins in the mind long before it becomes visible in the world. The world often sees the mansion, but it does not see the years of disciplined thought that built it. It sees the company, but not the nights when the founder questioned everything. It sees the championship, but not the thousands of mornings when the athlete trained while nobody was watching. It sees the invention, but not the failures that came before the breakthrough. Confidence is built in exactly the same way. You do not wake up one morning magically fearless. You build evidence. You make promises to yourself, and you keep them. You face difficult conversations, and you survive them. You attempt difficult things, and you discover that failure did not kill you. You step into unfamiliar territory, and eventually what once terrified you becomes familiar. That is how confidence is created. Not through positive words alone, but through repeated proof. Every time you do something you once believed you could not do, you place another brick into the foundation of your identity. And eventually, something changes. You stop asking, "Can I?" You begin asking, "How?" That single change can transform a life. Because, "Can I?" searches for permission. "How?" searches for a path. Thomas Edison did not ask how many times he was allowed to fail before attempting to create a practical electric light. Henry Ford did not ask whether everyone believed his vision before pursuing mass automobile production. Walt Disney faced financial failures, criticism, and setbacks, yet he continued because the picture in his mind was stronger than the voices around him. Abraham Lincoln experienced defeat after defeat before becoming one of the most consequential presidents in American history. The lesson is not that these people never doubted themselves. The lesson is that doubt did not get the final vote. And that is where your transformation begins. You do not need to eliminate doubt. You need to stop obeying it. There will always be a voice asking whether you are good enough. Answer it with action. There will always be someone who thinks you are unrealistic. Answer them with persistence. There will always be a moment when the road ahead becomes uncertain. Answer uncertainty with preparation. You are not required to know everything before you begin. You are required to begin. Because confidence is not the absence of uncertainty. Confidence is the decision to move forward despite it. Think about the person you could become if you stopped waiting to feel confident before taking action. Imagine waking up and knowing exactly what matters. Imagine no longer spending hours comparing your progress to someone else's highlight reel. Imagine walking into an opportunity without immediately explaining to yourself why you probably will not get it. Imagine hearing criticism without automatically questioning your worth. Imagine failing at something and thinking, good. Now I know what needs to change. That person is not imaginary. That person is built through decisions. And the first decision is simple. Stop negotiating with the smaller version of yourself. The smaller version of you wants certainty. The stronger version wants growth. The smaller version wants approval. The stronger version wants purpose. The smaller version asks, what will people think? The stronger version asks, what will happen if I never try? You must decide which voice gets to lead your life. Because every day, you are voting for an identity. Every action is a vote. Every time you wake up when you said you would, you vote for discipline. Every time you keep working when nobody praises you, you vote for commitment. Every time you tell the truth when a lie would be easier, you vote for character. Every time you refuse to quit because the first attempt failed, you vote for resilience. And eventually those votes become who you are. Confidence is identity reinforced by evidence. So if you want stronger confidence, stop chasing the feeling. Build the evidence. Keep one promise today. Then another tomorrow. Then another. Your mind begins to notice. I said I would do it, and I did. That sentence may sound insignificant. It is not. It is the foundation of self-trust. And self-trust is one of the most powerful forms of confidence a human being can possess. Because when you trust yourself, you do not need constant reassurance from the outside world. You can stand alone. You can make decisions. You can accept consequences. You can adjust. You can continue. And eventually, you become difficult to manipulate because your sense of direction does not come from the crowd. This is why clarity matters. A confused mind cannot generate consistent confidence. If you do not know what you want, every opportunity can distract you. If you do not know what you value, every opinion can influence you. If you do not know where you are going, every setback can make you turn around. You need a definite purpose. Not a vague wish. Not, I want to be successful. Not, I want more money. Not, I want people to respect me. Those are outcomes. You need something deeper. What kind of person are you determined to become? What problem are you willing to spend years solving? What contribution would make your life meaningful? What would you pursue even if nobody applauded you for it? What would still matter if the internet disappeared tomorrow? These questions force you beneath the surface. And once you discover your deeper reason, confidence becomes easier because your actions have somewhere to go. A person with purpose can endure discomfort that would destroy a person without purpose. This is why two people can experience the same hardship and respond completely differently. One sees pain and says, "Why me?" The other sees pain and says, "What can this teach me?" One sees rejection and says, "I am not enough." The other says, "This path was not the right one." One sees failure as identity. The other sees failure as information. The difference is interpretation. And interpretation is a mental skill. You must learn to control the meaning you give to events. A closed door does not automatically mean you are unworthy. A failed business does not automatically mean you are incapable. A rejection does not automatically mean you should quit. A mistake does not automatically mean you are a failure. Sometimes a setback is simply a lesson wearing an unpleasant disguise. History is filled with people whose greatest breakthroughs were surrounded by moments that looked like disasters. The human tendency is to judge the chapter while living inside it. But you do not know the ending. The bankruptcy may force the reinvention. The rejection may redirect the mission. The criticism may expose a weakness you needed to confront. The failure may reveal the strategy that finally works. This is why confidence requires patience. You cannot demand that the seed look like a tree while it is still underground. Your early efforts may look unimpressive. Your first videos may receive almost no attention. Your first business may struggle. Your first book may be ignored. Your first speech may be awkward. Your first attempt may embarrass you. Good. Let it. You are not trying to become impressive on your first attempt. You are trying to become capable. There is a profound difference. The person obsessed with looking successful avoids situations where failure is visible. The person committed to becoming successful willingly enters situations where they might look inexperienced. That person learns faster. And learning creates confidence. Every expert was once a beginner who was willing to look foolish long enough to become skilled. Think about the first time you ever drove a car. The first time you spoke in front of people. The first time you used a computer. The first time you handled a responsibility that once seemed overwhelming. What changed? You did not suddenly become a different human being. You accumulated familiarity. And familiarity reduces fear. This means that one of the fastest ways to become more confident is to deliberately expose yourself to things that make you uncomfortable. Speak up. Ask the question. Make the call. Publish the work. Apply for the opportunity. Introduce yourself. Learn the skill. Take the responsibility. Do the thing. Your nervous system may scream at first. Do it anyway. Courage is not a personality trait reserved for extraordinary people. Courage is a behavior. You practice it. And every repetition makes the next repetition easier. This is where discipline enters. Because confidence without discipline becomes fantasy. You can imagine yourself as powerful all day long, but your life changes when your behavior changes. You must become the person who does what needs to be done whether the mood is present or not. There will be mornings when you do not feel inspired. Get up. There will be afternoons when your progress feels invisible. Continue. There will be nights when the temptation to waste another hour is strong. Choose differently. Motivation is useful, but it is unreliable. Discipline is what remains when motivation leaves. The great danger of waiting for motivation is that you train yourself to obey your emotions. You become productive only when you feel productive. You become courageous only when you feel courageous. You become committed only when the process feels exciting. That is not freedom. That is emotional dependence. Real confidence begins when you can say, I do not feel like doing this, but I am doing it because it matters. That sentence contains enormous power. Because now your emotions are passengers. They are no longer driving the vehicle. Your purpose is driving. Your standards are driving. Your decision is driving. This does not mean becoming emotionless. It means becoming emotionally disciplined. Feel fear. Move anyway. Feel tired. Do what matters anyway. Feel uncertain. Take the next intelligent step anyway. Feel discouraged. Rest if necessary, then return. The goal is not to become a machine. The goal is to become someone who can feel deeply without surrendering control of their direction. And there is another enemy you must confront, comparison. Comparison is one of the quickest ways to destroy confidence because it makes you evaluate your private struggle against someone else's public result. You see their success. You do not see their failures. You see the house. You do not see the years of sacrifice. You see the body. You do not see the discipline. You see the company. You do not see the risks. You see the applause. You do not see the loneliness. You see the destination. You do not see the road. Stop comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. Your assignment is not to become them. Your assignment is to become the strongest version of yourself. Study great people. Learn from them. Use their achievements as evidence of possibility, not evidence of your inadequacy. When you see someone succeeding, ask, what can I learn? That question transforms envy into education. If someone is better than you at something, good. Now you have a teacher. If someone has built something you want, study the process. If someone has developed a skill you admire, practice that skill. Do not waste energy resenting evidence that growth is possible. Use it. The world is full of examples. Carnegie demonstrated the power of organized effort. Ford demonstrated the power of systems and persistence. Edison demonstrated experimentation. Disney demonstrated imagination combined with execution. Lincoln demonstrated resilience under enormous pressure. Their lives were different, their circumstances were different, and their personalities were different, but they shared something essential. They refused to let temporary conditions define permanent possibility. And you must develop the same habit. Your current circumstances are information. They are not prophecy. Where you are today is a snapshot. It is not a sentence. You may have less money than you want. You may have less experience than you want. You may have made mistakes. You may have wasted years. You may have started late. None of that changes the power of the next decision. Do not romanticize the past. Learn from it. Do not worship the future. Build it. The only place where transformation can occur is in the present moment. One decision. One action. One disciplined hour. Then another. That is how massive change hides inside ordinary days. A mountain is climbed one step at a time, but because the destination is enormous, people underestimate the power of the step. Do not. Respect the small action. The small action repeated becomes momentum. Momentum becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. Identity shapes destiny. That is why your daily routine matters more than occasional bursts of enthusiasm. Your life is not primarily shaped by what you do once. It is shaped by what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly tell yourself you cannot, your mind becomes skilled at finding reasons why you cannot. If you repeatedly act despite fear, your mind becomes skilled at finding ways forward. Your brain learns from repetition. So be careful what you rehearse. Do not rehearse helplessness. Do not rehearse humiliation. Do not rehearse imaginary disasters for hours. Do not spend your mental life repeatedly losing battles that have not happened. Instead, rehearse solutions. See yourself standing tall. See yourself handling pressure. See yourself finishing what you started. See yourself responding calmly. See yourself learning. See yourself adapting. Visualization is not magic. It is mental preparation. The mind becomes more comfortable with an image that it repeatedly encounters. Give yourself a compelling image of the person you intend to become. Then behave consistently with that image. If your future self is disciplined, practice discipline today. If your future self is confident, speak with honesty today. If your future self is courageous, take a courageous action today. Do not wait until you become that person to behave like that person. Behavior helps create identity. And identity reinforces behavior. This is how transformation becomes self-sustaining. But there is something else you must develop if you want dangerous confidence: standards. Confidence without standards is fragile. You must decide what you will no longer tolerate from yourself. No more endless excuses. No more quitting because progress is slow. No more allowing one person's criticism to erase 10 people's support. No more abandoning your goals every time something becomes difficult. No more making promises to yourself and casually breaking them. Your standards tell your mind what kind of person you are. And standards are powerful because they reduce negotiation. If you have decided that you exercise every morning, you do not debate it every morning. If you have decided that you work on your craft for 2 focused hours, you do not negotiate with every distraction. If you have decided that you will treat people with dignity, you do not abandon that principle because you are angry. The strongest people are not strong because they make perfect decisions every minute. They are strong because they have principles that guide them when emotions become loud. Your confidence grows when your actions become consistent with your values. Integrity creates internal stability. When you know you can trust your own word, you stand differently. You speak differently. You make decisions differently. There is a quiet power in a person who knows, if I say I will do it, I will do everything reasonably possible to make it happen. That person does not need to shout. That person does not need to prove superiority. Their confidence is visible because it is settled. And settled confidence is far more powerful than performance. You do not need to walk into every room trying to convince people that you are powerful. You need to become powerful in ways that do not require explanation. Build competence. Build character. Build knowledge. Build emotional control. Build physical energy. Build financial discipline. Build relationships based on respect. Build a reputation for reliability. Build something useful. The world eventually recognizes substance. You cannot fake competence forever. But you can develop it. And development requires humility. This is another paradox of confidence. The truly confident person can say, I don't know. They can say, I was wrong. They can say, teach me. They can accept correction without collapsing. Why? Because their identity is not built on pretending to be perfect. A fragile ego needs to appear right. A strong mind wants to become right. There is a difference. If someone points out a weakness, do not automatically defend it. Investigate it. If they are wrong, move on. If they are right, improve. Either way, you win. This is how criticism becomes fuel. You do not have to believe every critic. But you should listen carefully enough to extract information. Your critics may sometimes see what your supporters cannot see. Use discernment. Do not let criticism define you. Do not let praise define you either. Both can become forms of dependency. If you need praise to feel worthy, praise controls you. If you fear criticism so deeply that you change your direction every time someone objects, criticism controls you. Freedom comes when you can hear both without surrendering your judgment. This is what it means to own your mind. Napoleon Hill emphasized the importance of controlling one's thoughts because thoughts become seeds of action, and repeated action creates results. Modern life makes this principle even more important. Your attention is constantly under attack. Notifications. Algorithms. News. Entertainment. Arguments. Advertising. Other people's lifestyles. Other people's opinions. Every screen is asking for a piece of your mind. If you do not decide what deserves your attention, someone else will decide for you. And a distracted mind cannot build a powerful life. Protect your attention. Your attention is one of your most valuable resources. Where attention goes, energy follows. Where energy goes, effort follows. Where effort goes, results eventually appear. You cannot build a great future while spending your best mental hours obsessing over someone else's life. Turn off what needs to be turned off. Create periods of silence. Read. Think. Write. Walk. Plan. Work deeply. Give your mind space to form original thoughts. Some of your greatest ideas will not arrive while you are consuming information. They will arrive after you stop consuming it. Silence can reveal what noise was hiding. And in that silence, ask yourself a difficult question. What am I avoiding? Sometimes the answer is the exact doorway to your next level. You may be avoiding starting because starting makes failure possible. You may be avoiding finishing because finishing makes judgment possible. You may be avoiding responsibility because responsibility makes excuses impossible. You may be avoiding success because success would force you to become someone different. Yes, even success can be frightening. Because every new level requires a new identity. The person who wants extraordinary results must become comfortable carrying extraordinary responsibility. Do not ask only what success will give you. Ask what success will require from you. More discipline. More patience. Better decisions. Greater emotional control. More responsibility. More courage. More learning. This is why the goal is not simply to get rich, be famous, or be successful. The goal is to become capable of handling what you are asking for. If you want a bigger life, become a bigger person internally. Not bigger in ego. Bigger in capacity. More capable of serving. More capable of leading. More capable of enduring. More capable of learning. More capable of making decisions. More capable of handling pressure. Because opportunity tends to reveal capacity. And when opportunity arrives, you want to be ready. This is where preparation meets confidence. Confidence is not saying, I will definitely win. Confidence is saying, whatever happens, I will respond. That is much stronger. Because you cannot control every outcome. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control other people's choices. You cannot control whether everyone likes you. You cannot control timing. You cannot control unexpected events. But you can control your preparation. Your attitude. Your effort. Your standards. Your response. Your willingness to learn. And when you focus on what you can control, anxiety begins to lose its grip. You stop wasting energy fighting reality. You begin working with reality. Adaptability becomes one of your greatest strengths. The world changes. Industries change. Technology changes. People change. Plans change. The confident person does not demand that reality obey the original plan. They adjust without abandoning the mission. There is a difference between changing direction and abandoning purpose. If the strategy fails, change the strategy. If the approach fails, change the approach. If the timeline changes, adjust the timeline. But do not confuse a difficult method with an impossible mission. Persistence does not mean doing the same thing forever. Persistence means remaining committed to the objective while remaining flexible about the method. That is intelligent persistence. It is what allowed innovators to continue experimenting. It is what allowed entrepreneurs to rebuild. It is what allowed leaders to survive setbacks. And it is what will allow you to survive your own. Because you will have setbacks. Do not listen to anyone who promises you a life without them. There will be days when you question yourself. There will be projects that fail. There will be people who leave. There will be opportunities you miss. There will be plans that collapse. There will be moments when you wonder whether all your effort is worth it. Those moments do not disqualify you. They are part of the price. Every meaningful achievement carries a price. The price may be patience. The price may be rejection. The price may be sacrifice. The price may be uncertainty. The price may be years of work without immediate recognition. Ask yourself whether you are willing to pay the price for the life you claim to want. Because wanting is easy. Commitment is expensive. Everyone wants the harvest. Few people want the planting. Everyone wants the applause. Few people want the practice. Everyone wants the freedom. Few people want the discipline that creates it. You must learn to love the process. Not every moment. Not every day. But the process itself. Because the process is where you become capable. The destination is simply where people finally notice. Your greatest transformation may happen during the period when nobody is watching. That is why you should stop measuring your progress only through visible results. Measure your discipline. Measure your knowledge. Measure your courage. Measure your consistency. Measure how quickly you recover. Measure how you handle pressure. Measure whether you are keeping promises to yourself. These are leading indicators. Results often arrive later. The farmer does not dig up the seed every morning to check whether it is growing. He waters it. He protects it. He waits. He works. And he trusts the process. You need that kind of patience. Not passive patience. Active patience. The kind that keeps building while waiting. And while you build, practice gratitude. Gratitude is not weakness. It is perspective. You can want more without hating what you have. You can be ambitious without being permanently dissatisfied. You can pursue wealth while appreciating health, relationships, opportunity, knowledge, time, and the simple fact that you are alive today. Gratitude protects ambition from becoming an endless hunger that can never be satisfied. Because if you believe happiness begins only after the next achievement, you will spend your entire life postponing your life. You must learn to appreciate the journey while still demanding growth. Say thank you for what exists. Then build what does not. Be grateful for the lesson. Then improve the weakness. Be grateful for the opportunity. Then prepare yourself to use it. Be grateful for the people who support you. Then become the kind of person who supports others. Success becomes richer when it is shared. And this leads to another dimension of confidence, contribution. The strongest confidence is not built by constantly asking, "What can I get?" It grows when you ask, "What can I give?" When you become useful, you become valuable. Solve problems. Create solutions. Teach what you know. Encourage someone. Build something that makes life easier. Give people a reason to trust you. Your value increases as your ability to create value increases. This is why learning should never stop. Read books. Study history. Study psychology. Study communication. Study business. Study your failures. Study people. Study yourself. A person who stops learning eventually becomes dependent on yesterday's knowledge. And yesterday's knowledge may not be enough for tomorrow's world. Stay curious. Confidence and curiosity belong together. The insecure person may pretend to know everything. The confident person remains interested. They can walk into a room and learn. They can meet someone younger and learn. They can meet someone with less money and learn. They can study an industry completely different from their own and discover a new idea. Humility keeps the mind open. And an open mind finds possibilities that a defensive mind cannot see. Never become so attached to your identity that you cannot evolve. You are allowed to outgrow old beliefs. You are allowed to change your strategy. You are allowed to admit that something you once wanted no longer matters. Growth requires revision. A map is useful, but if the landscape changes, you update the map. That is not weakness. That is intelligence. And perhaps the greatest confidence of all is knowing that you can reinvent yourself. If something collapses, you can rebuild. If you lose money, you can learn how to create it again. If you lose an opportunity, you can search for another. If you make a terrible mistake, you can take responsibility and become wiser. If people misunderstand you, you can continue living according to your values. If your first dream dies, you can discover another. You are not your circumstances. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not the opinion of the person who rejected you. You are the person who decides what happens next. That is your power. And it is greater than you have probably allowed yourself to believe. There is a version of you that has been waiting. Waiting for permission. Waiting for confidence. Waiting for the perfect moment. Waiting until the money arrives. Waiting until the fear disappears. Waiting until everyone agrees. Waiting until you feel ready. But the perfect moment is a myth. Readiness is often created through movement. You do not become ready and then act. You act, learn, adapt, and become ready through the process. The door rarely opens because you are ready. You become ready because you walk through the door. So step forward. Take the opportunity. Send the message. Make the call. Start the project. Write the first page. Record the first video. Build the first version. Ask the question. Enter the room. Raise your hand. Say yes to responsibility. And if your hands shake, let them shake. Confidence does not require still hands. It requires forward movement. There will be moments when your heart beats faster because you are doing something important. Do not interpret that feeling as a sign to retreat. Sometimes fear is simply your body recognizing that you are entering unfamiliar territory. You can feel fear and still move with wisdom. You can be nervous and still be professional. You can be uncertain and still be decisive. You can be humble and still be powerful. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can be compassionate and still be ambitious. You do not need to become cold to become strong. In fact, some of the strongest people are deeply compassionate because strength gives them the capacity to care without being destroyed by every emotion. Do not confuse confidence with aggression. The loudest person is not always the strongest. Sometimes strength is silence. Sometimes strength is walking away. Sometimes strength is saying no. Sometimes strength is admitting you need help. Sometimes strength is forgiving without returning to the same harmful situation. Sometimes strength is choosing long-term peace over short-term revenge. Dangerous confidence is not dangerous because you hurt people. It is dangerous because you can no longer be easily controlled by fear. You become difficult to manipulate because you know your values. You become difficult to discourage because you understand the process. You become difficult to distract because you have a purpose. You become difficult to stop because setbacks no longer define your identity. That is the kind of confidence worth building. And you build it privately before the world sees it publicly. Nobody may notice your first disciplined morning. Nobody may celebrate the hour you spent learning. Nobody may know that you resisted the temptation to quit. Nobody may applaud the decision to save money. Nobody may understand why you kept working. Keep going. The world does not need to witness every brick being placed. The building still rises. One day, people may call you lucky. Let them. They did not see the preparation. They may call you talented. Let them. They did not see the practice. They may call you confident. Let them. They did not see the years you spent learning how to trust yourself. Do not waste time correcting people who only see the result. Your responsibility is not to explain every chapter. Your responsibility is to write the next one. And you write it with action. Not fantasy. Not excuses. Action. Every morning, ask yourself what matters most today. Then do that before the world gets a chance to fill your mind with noise. Protect your first hour. Protect your attention. Protect your standards. Protect your energy. Not because the world is your enemy, but because your mission requires focus. You cannot chase everything. Every yes is a no to something else. If you say yes to endless distraction, you say no to your potential. If you say yes to every invitation, you may say no to your purpose. If you say yes to every opinion, you say no to your own judgment. Learn to choose. A powerful life is not built only by what you do. It is built by what you refuse to do. You refuse to waste your life trying to impress people who are not building your future. You refuse to spend your best energy on arguments that produce nothing. You refuse to turn temporary discomfort into permanent surrender. You refuse to make your past a prison. You refuse to allow fear to make your decisions. You refuse to call yourself incapable simply because you are inexperienced. You refuse to let one bad chapter convince you the entire book is ruined. You refuse. And that refusal becomes freedom. Remember this when the difficult days arrive. They will arrive. Your confidence will be tested. Not when everything is going well. When something goes wrong. That is where you discover whether your confidence is real. When the plan fails, do you collapse or adjust? When someone criticizes you, do you learn or explode? When progress slows, do you persist or disappear? When fear arrives, do you obey it or move intelligently through it? Pressure reveals structure. And you are building structure now. Build it carefully. Build it with truth. Build it with discipline. Build it with patience. Build it with knowledge. Build it with purpose. Build it with courage. Because someday, life will ask more from you than you thought you could give. And you will need to answer. That is why you are becoming stronger now. Not because you want to impress the world. Because you want to be ready for the moment your opportunity arrives. Opportunity often looks like responsibility. It may arrive disguised as a difficult project. A leadership position. A new business. A family responsibility. A chance to help someone. A problem nobody else wants to solve. A moment when everyone else retreats. Do not always look for the easy opportunity. Sometimes the difficult opportunity contains the greatest transformation. The challenge may be preparing you for the level you requested. So when life gives you something difficult, ask a better question. Not, why is this happening to me? Ask, who is this requiring me to become? That question changes everything. Maybe you need to become more disciplined. Maybe more patient. Maybe more assertive. Maybe more educated. Maybe more organized. Maybe more resilient. Maybe more forgiving. Maybe more courageous. The obstacle becomes a teacher. And once you extract the lesson, you are no longer the same person who encountered the obstacle. That is growth. Your confidence becomes dangerous when adversity stops being wasted. Every hardship becomes material. Every mistake becomes education. Every rejection becomes redirection. Every delay becomes preparation. Every challenge becomes training. You stop asking life to be easier. You start asking yourself to become stronger. That is a profound shift. Because life will not always cooperate with your preferences. But you can cooperate with reality. You can learn. You can adapt. You can rebuild. You can continue. And that is enough. You do not need guarantees. You need commitment. You do not need perfect conditions. You need a decision. You do not need everyone to believe in you. You need to stop abandoning yourself. That may be the deepest lesson of confidence. Do not abandon yourself. When you fail, do not abandon yourself. When you are criticized, do not abandon yourself. When someone rejects you, do not abandon yourself. When your progress is slow, do not abandon yourself. When your first plan collapses, do not abandon yourself. Return. Learn. Adjust. Continue. The world may turn its back on you temporarily. Do not turn your back on yourself permanently. Because the relationship you have with yourself is the one relationship you carry into every room, every business, every opportunity, every failure, every victory. If you constantly tell yourself that you are weak, your actions will begin to obey that belief. If you repeatedly remind yourself that you are capable of learning, your behavior begins to reflect it. Your inner language matters. Stop casually insulting yourself. Stop saying, I'm stupid. Stop saying, I'm terrible at everything. Stop saying, I always fail. Stop turning individual mistakes into permanent identities. Say what is true. I made a mistake. I need to learn. I am not skilled at this yet. I can improve. I need help. I will try again. That is not empty positivity. That is accurate thinking. And accurate thinking creates stronger decisions. You are allowed to acknowledge reality without surrendering to it. Yes, this is difficult. And I can learn. Yes, I failed. And I can try again. Yes, I am behind. And I can begin now. Yes, I am afraid. And I can still move. This is mature confidence. Not pretending that everything is perfect. Knowing that imperfection does not prevent progress. And once you internalize that, your life begins to expand. You stop living in the tiny circle of what feels safe. You begin exploring what is possible. You begin discovering abilities that fear kept hidden. You realize that you can handle more than you thought. You realize that rejection is survivable. You realize that embarrassment fades. You realize that mistakes can be repaired. You realize that people are often thinking about themselves more than they are thinking about you. You realize that the world is not watching as closely as your anxiety told you it was. And suddenly you become free. Free to create. Free to speak. Free to experiment. Free to fail. Free to learn. Free to grow. Free to become. This is the freedom confidence gives you. Not freedom from difficulty. Freedom from unnecessary fear. And once fear loses its authority, your potential becomes visible. You begin seeing opportunities everywhere. You notice problems others ignore. You hear ideas differently. You meet people differently. You walk differently. You think differently. Not because you have become superior. Because you have become awake. Awake to the fact that your life is being built every day. There is no neutral day. Every day is construction. You are either strengthening the foundation or weakening it. You are either feeding discipline or feeding distraction. You are either building skills or reinforcing excuses. You are either moving toward your vision or moving away from it. And occasionally you will need to stop. Rest. Recover. Reflect. Rest is not quitting. A warrior who never rests becomes injured. A mind that never pauses becomes scattered. A body that never recovers becomes weak. Confidence includes knowing when to push and when to recover. But never confuse rest with escape. Rest so you can return. Pause so you can think. Recover so you can continue. Your journey is not a race against someone else's clock. Some people discover their calling at 20. Some at 40. Some at 60. Colonel Harlan Sanders did not build the famous Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise until later in life. Age did not erase possibility. Circumstances do not have the final word. You do not need to be early. You need to be committed. There is still time to become. There is still time to learn. There is still time to build. There is still time to apologize. There is still time to start. There is still time to create something meaningful. But time is not infinite. That is why you must stop wasting it trying to become someone else's idea of success. Your life is not a rehearsal. You get one opportunity to live this exact day. Do not spend it hiding. Do not spend it endlessly preparing to begin. Do not spend it waiting for permission. Begin. Your first step may be small. Take it. Your first attempt may be imperfect. Make it. Your first result may be disappointing. Study it. Your first victory may be tiny. Celebrate it. Then continue. Eventually, those small victories accumulate. And one day you will look backward and realize that the person who once doubted whether they could begin has become someone who no longer needs permission. That is the transformation. You did not become fearless. You became committed. You did not eliminate uncertainty. You became capable of moving through it. You did not become perfect. You became resilient. You did not become superior. You became self-directed. And that is what dangerous confidence really means. It means your life is no longer controlled by the fear of other people's opinions. It means you can hear "no" without hearing "you are nothing." It means you can hear "not yet" without hearing "never." It means you can hear criticism without hearing condemnation. It means you can experience failure without becoming failure. It means you can stand in an uncertain world and still choose your direction. That is strength. And strength is available to you. Not tomorrow. Today. Right now. Make a decision. Choose one thing you have been avoiding. Choose one promise you have repeatedly broken. Choose one skill you need to develop. Choose one distraction you need to remove. Choose one action that would move your life forward. Then do it. Do not make 100 promises. Make one. Keep it. Tomorrow, make another. This is how self-trust is built. This is how confidence becomes real. This is how a person changes their life without needing permission from the world. And as you continue, remember that confidence is not about becoming someone who never doubts. It is about becoming someone who knows what to do when doubt arrives. You breathe. You think. You return to your purpose. You identify the next step. And you move. Again. And again. And again. Until the impossible begins to look unfamiliar. Until the difficult becomes normal. Until the discipline becomes automatic. Until the person you once imagined becoming is simply who you are. There will be a day when someone asks how you became so confident. They may expect a secret. They may expect a book. They may expect a technique. But the truth will be much simpler. You kept your promises to yourself. You stopped running from discomfort. You learned. You failed. You adjusted. You continued. You stopped measuring your worth through other people's approval. You developed a purpose stronger than your fear. You built evidence. Day after day. And eventually, confidence stopped being something you were trying to feel. It became something you had earned. That is the confidence you should pursue. Not the confidence of the person who enters a room demanding attention. The confidence of the person who enters a room prepared to contribute. Not the confidence of the person who believes they cannot lose. The confidence of the person who knows they can recover. Not the confidence of the person who thinks they know everything. The confidence of the person who knows they can learn anything they are willing to study deeply enough. Not the confidence of the person who never feels fear. The confidence of the person who refuses to let fear make every decision. That is your new standard. Become calm under pressure. Become disciplined when nobody watches. Become curious when you do not understand. Become resilient when you fail. Become grateful when you win. Become humble when you are praised. Become courageous when you are afraid. Become patient when results are slow. Become adaptable when circumstances change. Become relentless about your purpose and flexible about your methods. And above all, become someone you respect. Because when you respect the person in the mirror, you stop needing the entire world to validate you. You can walk alone for a while. You can build quietly. You can endure misunderstanding. You can survive temporary loneliness. You can continue without applause. Because your internal standard has become stronger than external approval. That is freedom. And perhaps this is the moment you have been waiting for. Not because the world suddenly changed. Because you did. The circumstances may still be imperfect. The money may not be there yet. The opportunity may not have appeared yet. The audience may not know your name. The business may still be small. The dream may still look distant. But you are no longer the same person standing at the starting line. You have decided. And decisions are powerful because they turn possibility into direction. So stand up internally. Straighten your shoulders. Clear your mind. Look at your life without excuses and without shame. Accept where you are. Then decide where you are going. You do not need to hate your present to build your future. You simply need to refuse to remain there. Let your past educate you, not imprison you. Let your failures humble you, not define you. Let your critics sharpen you, not control you. Let your victories encourage you, not make you careless. Let your purpose guide you. Let your discipline carry you. Let your courage open doors. And when the world tells you that you are not ready, remember that readiness is built through movement. When fear tells you to wait, remember that waiting does not make uncertainty disappear. When comparison tells you that everyone is ahead, remember that your journey has its own clock. When failure tells you that you are finished, remember that failure is an event, not an identity. When doubt whispers that you are not enough, remember that enough is not a feeling. Capability is built. Strength is built. Confidence is built. Character is built. And you are building now. One decision. One action. One disciplined day. One uncomfortable conversation. One page. One workout. One lesson. One rejection. One recovery. One attempt. One promise kept. Again. And again. And again. Until one day you realize something extraordinary. The thing you were afraid of was never as powerful as you imagined. The criticism did not destroy you. The failure did not end you. The rejection did not define you. The uncertainty did not stop you. You kept going. And because you kept going, you became someone who could not easily be stopped. That is the moment confidence becomes dangerous. Not dangerous to other people. Dangerous to the limitations that once controlled you. Dangerous to procrastination. Dangerous to excuses. Dangerous to fear. Dangerous to the identity you outgrew. Dangerous to the belief that you must remain small because you once were. You are allowed to become more. More disciplined. More courageous. More capable. More focused. More generous. More intelligent. More resilient. More alive. And there is no need to announce the transformation. Build it quietly. Let your actions speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your results speak. Let your character speak. The strongest declaration you can make is not, "I am confident." It is to live in a way that makes confidence unnecessary to announce. You simply do the work. You simply keep your word. You simply continue. And eventually the world notices. But by then, you will have learned something even more important. You were never building confidence for the world. You were building it for yourself. So that when the moment comes, when life demands courage, you can answer. When opportunity knocks, you can step forward. When adversity arrives, you can remain standing. When uncertainty surrounds you, you can think clearly. When everyone else runs, you can decide intelligently whether to stay. When the dream feels distant, you can keep walking. And when you finally reach the mountain you once believed was impossible, you will look back at every difficult morning, every rejection, every mistake, every lonely hour, every moment of doubt, and you will understand. None of it was wasted. It was training. It was preparation. It was construction. It was the making of you. So do not wait for confidence. Build it. Do not wait for courage. Practice it. Do not wait for success. Develop the person capable of sustaining it. Do not wait for the world to believe in you. Believe enough in your purpose to begin. And when you begin, begin seriously. Because your life is listening to the decisions you make today. Your future self is watching. And that future self does not need you to be perfect. That future self needs you to be brave enough to take the next step. So take it. Then another. Then another. And keep walking until the person you once were becomes proud of the person you refuse to stop becoming. This is your life. This is your mind. This is your decision. And from this moment forward, fear may speak, but it does not command. Doubt may appear, but it does not decide. Failure may come, but it does not define. Criticism may arrive, but it does not control. The world may change, but you can adapt. The road may become difficult, but you can continue. Because you have finally understood the truth. Confidence is not something you wait to receive. It is something you build. And you build it every time you choose discipline over distraction, purpose over approval, courage over comfort, learning over ego, action over excuses, and persistence over surrender. You build it every morning you rise and decide that your future deserves your effort. You build it every night you look back and know that you gave something meaningful to the day. You build it every time you keep a promise nobody else knows you made. And one day, without realizing exactly when it happened, you will become the person you once needed someone else to tell you that you could become. You will stand differently. Think differently. Speak differently. Choose differently. Live differently. Not because life became easy. Because you became stronger. And when that day comes, do not forget where your power came from. It came from the decision to stop abandoning yourself. It came from the decision to believe that your future was worth building. It came from the decision to act before certainty arrived. It came from the decision to keep moving when nobody was watching. So now, the question is no longer whether you can become confident. The question is how far you are willing to take the decision. How disciplined can you become? How focused can you become? How resilient can you become? How much can you learn? How much responsibility can you carry? How many times can you rise? How deeply can you commit? There is no final answer because the person you can become is still being built. And the architect is you. The blueprint is your vision. The foundation is your character. The structure is your discipline. The walls are your habits. The windows are your perspective. The doors are your courage. And every single day, you decide whether another piece gets built. Build. Not for applause. Not for revenge. Not to prove someone wrong. Build because you were given a life, and that life deserves your highest honest effort. Build because somewhere inside you there is a potential that will never reveal itself through hesitation. Build because the world has enough spectators. Become a participant. Become a creator. Become a person who acts. Become a person who learns. Become a person who finishes. Become a person who can look at uncertainty and say, I do not know exactly what will happen. But I know what I will do next. That sentence is confidence. That sentence is courage. That sentence is freedom. And if you remember nothing else, remember this. You do not need to feel powerful to begin acting powerfully. You do not need to feel fearless to move forward. You do not need to have every answer. You need a direction. You need a decision. You need discipline. And then you need to take the next step. Take it today. Take it while your heart is beating fast. Take it while the doubts are still whispering. Take it while the conditions are imperfect. Take it while nobody is applauding. Because every great transformation begins quietly. A decision. A breath. A step. And then another. Until one day, the world sees the result of what your private courage built. And when that day comes, you will not need to explain your confidence. You will simply live it. You will walk forward with calm eyes. A clear mind. A disciplined heart. A definite purpose. And an unshakable understanding that no temporary circumstance has the authority to determine the final value of your life. You do. And the moment you accept that responsibility, you become dangerous to every limitation that once convinced you to stay small. So go forward. Build yourself. Trust yourself. Challenge yourself. Teach yourself. Forgive yourself. Discipline yourself. Believe in the possibility of becoming more. Then prove that belief through action. Not once. Not when you feel inspired. Every day. Because the future does not belong to the person who merely dreams about confidence. It belongs to the person who practices it when confidence is hardest to feel. Stand up. Choose. Act. Persist. Learn. Adapt. Rise. And become so deeply committed to your purpose that fear no longer knows how to stop you. That is how you become dangerously confident. That is how you become unstoppable, not because nothing can defeat you, but because nothing can permanently convince you to stop becoming who you were capable of becoming. And that journey begins now.